And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it. And that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight's episode, we're going to be joined by my guest, Jeremy. Jeremy reached out to me a while back, had some interesting topics he wanted to discuss involving cryptids, mainly Dogman. Kind of my bread and butter around here, so definitely wanted to get him on here. Before we bring him on, though, if you've ever had an experience and you'd like to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tales, you can send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to the website tinfoiltales.com. There's a contact section there. Either way works for me, so just make sure to reach out. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. If you want to help the podcast out, please continue to share it around. Word of mouth is the best way to get the word out on the podcast. With every new listener, there's a chance for a new guest, and every new guest means more content for you guys to listen to. If you'd like to help the podcast financially, you can go become a member of the Patreon. You get access to ad-free content, plus early access to all the episodes. So as soon as I record an episode, it'll be available on the Patreon once it's edited. There will also be some exclusive episodes specifically for the Patreon that will not be released publicly. They will not be interviews as in like we do for the normal show, but they will be a little bit different. I don't want to take away from anyone wanting to come on here and share their experience. I want that to be available for everyone. If that's not something you're interested in doing, but you'd still like to help out, there is a donate button. It is available in the show notes, so just click on that and make sure to let me know that you did that, and I'll give you a shout out. Speaking of shout outs, if you'd like to leave a 5-star review, that helps with the rankings. You write a review out, I'll make sure to read that on an upcoming episode. There is now a merch store available, so you can get some shirts or stickers or whatever little swag you want representing Tinfoil Tales. The link to that will also be included in the show notes. Make sure to follow us on social medias. You guys know which ones are out there. But I think now we're going to go ahead and bring Jeremy on. We'll dive right into his discussions. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Jeremy. Thanks for coming on here talking to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. You want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm mid-40s. I live out here in the Pacific Northwest. Been out here pretty much all my life. Well, I've been around the U.S., but primarily out in the Pacific Northwest. I've had countless paranormal, a UFO. I've had Sabe experiences, and I've also had experiences with the Dogman.
The Dogman, we kind of were talking a little bit off air that I said it before, it's kind of my bread and butter, just because of my own personal experiences or whatever. So definitely piques my interest.
Well, I feel that, to be honest, that there is a difference between your classic werewolf, which some people attribute as Dogman, versus your Dogman like Anubis, where you have the physical structure that would make Schwarzenegger jealous on his best day, with a animal head. I've heard stories even as much as there being ones with cat heads. Anubis is attributed that, and there's been, I've read discussions where there's somehow Dogman, some of the Dogman that are the man with the dog head or the animal head is a direct descendant of Anubis himself. The Dogman, where it's more of a wolf on or a dog on 2 feet, I think they're the same, but I'm not sure if one is as, I want to say, evil as the other. The one I dealt with, um, less than a half mile from my house, and I live in a suburb of a major city. I mean, suburb of Portland, Oregon. You can't get much bigger of a major city than that.
No.
And this thing, and not only growled at me, and let me rewind. Let me start from the beginning of this experience. Now, mind you, I've had on this trail, it goes next to a power substation. And I've heard portals, or what I attribute the sound of portals being a very loud metallic slam. There's no metal doors out there that would attribute to that volume of a slam that I've heard on four different occasions.
I've wondered if I've heard this before, like with the noises and everything, it sounds like metal dragging or something. I'm wondering if it's not like, if it is like a portal or something, I wonder if that's not like the fabric of time and space or whatever, like ripping apart, and that's what the noise is coming from.
Yes, I am a strong believer behind that because my vision, I was born with a visual impairment. My eyes are special, and my other senses, including my sixth sense, has gone through the roof. So I pick up on a lot more stuff than the average individual. And I've had the Dogman experience, and he tried to lure me. That was what was frightening in the beginning. Is I was walking home from the grocery store down a bike path, a paved bike path next to the power station, and I'm texting a friend, and next thing I hear is a cat down in a ravine with a creek that's just getting its ass beat. It just sounds like it's dying. And I hear it a couple of times, and the first thing I think of is my cat. And then the sounds down there intensify. But the problem is, and my brain's like, wait, there's no growling, there's nothing making sounds of attacking that you would normally hear at night. This is 10:45 at night. Third week of May. I will forever remember it. I wound up in the ER the following day, and I think it's directly related to this experience. And I realized that, okay, that doesn't sound legit. And as soon as that thought crossed my head, sound stopped. Now, there's lore in the Dogman that, and Subway, that the farther the sound, but more around the Dogman, farther away the sound is, the closer they really are, and vice versa. And I walked down the trail another 15 yards, and there's a wall of brush. Okay, it's probably about 2 to 3 feet thick, 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall. This was, like I said, May, middle of spring, so it's nice, full, thick foliage. I've walked up and down this trail for over 18 years. So I know it like the back of my hand. I've traveled every side path that you can go through there. And I know that there's no branches there that can hold weight, especially the weight of something that can growl literally 18 inches from my ear and make my whole entire body vibrate. And I mean vibrate to the level that I was almost paralyzed. And I'm like, what the F? And that got my attention because my phone restarted itself. And I'm like, okay, I don't get scared. I know after dealing with various lower vibrational entities that you don't give them the fear. That's what they thrive on. That's what they live on, in my opinion, in my experience. This thing, I've never been so scared in my life. I've faced death. I've had multiple near-death experiences, and I wasn't as scared for my literal soul as I was when I dealt with this Dogman. He did reveal himself till the end, but what he did, it rained earlier that day, and above the trail where I was walking, it was out of range of the branches. But he jumped to the top of the tree, which was about 20, maybe 25 feet high. And he proceeded to jump and mock me. Mind speak like I have never experienced laughing. Every time I tried to bring up, I believe in Jesus. I'm not a religious individual. I'm a spiritual individual. I don't look at it as a religion. I look at it as I'm not an organized individual. And the open mocking, and I've never tasted such palatable evil on this plane as I had that day. And he stalked me for about a mile. I didn't run. I walked. I kept my calm, but I was terrified. And I was getting drenched by rain, even though it wasn't raining. You could see the trees swaying back and forth. But the moment I got into light, there's at the very end of about a mile and a half from where this started, there's a bend in the trail, and there's a house that always keeps its backyard light on, so it shines off into the trail. And I felt for some reason that was a demarcation line, safety line. And once I passed that, I felt the laughter inside my chest. And I looked around, and that's when he revealed himself. And what I saw made me damn near crap my pants. And I don't know how I got out alive. I really don't. I know what I saw was about a 7.5 foot tall humanoid individual. The chest was at least 4 feet wide. Its arms were slightly longer than the humans as far as where it goes down to just below the ass, but it was very human. Human definition as far as the biceps, the quadriceps, but it was a black coyote head, one which I've seen the coyote running with a pack of known coyotes here in the area that's easily a head and a half taller than the rest of the pack. And he proceeded to psychically torment me for the following 2 weeks. It was rough.
I've heard various accounts of these things, and it depends on what people believe, because some think they're a flesh and blood creature. They don't think there's any supernatural elements to them, but for being a flesh and blood type of a creature, there's no known evolutionary line to where this thing should exist. Like, if it's a canine, it shouldn't be able to have human type features. Like, it shouldn't have the muscles and the bone structures to walk upright like a human. There's no canines that can do something like that. And then it depends on, again, like what people believe, but like with the mind speak stuff, that's the same thing I've heard with Sasquatches too. Like, some people believe that they have the ability to mind speak. And there's a big disruption amongst the community of people that are flesh and blood, and there's no woo side to it. I was like, well, I think if these things exist, there has to be some sort of a woo side. The whole out there theories, we're talking about something that probably shouldn't even really exist. So how are we going to say it's flesh and blood when we don't even know what it is?
Well, there's that, and I think the problem is we're taking something that we're told. See, I think part of the reason why we're not told about this is if we were told that Bigfoot exists, Dogman exists, that would take the whole evolution theory, throw it out the window. This is the only dimension, throw it out the window. That would take away the power and control. They couldn't keep this hidden. They would have to admit that we're not king, and then we would have to go down the myriad paths of rights. What do we do? Do we give them land? I'm under the actual idea that they've known, the governments around the world have known about the cryptid areas, the cryptid hotspots, and have designated them as natural areas, natural forests, protected areas, under the guise of green spaces. But is it really, or is it more to help these guys? But we're not supposed to talk about it because then we're conspiracy. We're not part of the mainstream because that's, fantasy. But wasn't UFOs fantasy up until about 4 years ago?
Mhm. I feel like with this topic in general, like when it comes to cryptids and anything on the fringe reality of what we do, there's always that stigma and that taboo. And I don't understand at what point does the normal, like, society start to accept these encounters that people are having, because not every single person can be lying or crazy or seeking attention or whatever. Like, just say 99% of them are. There's still that 1% that could be true. There's always
Yeah.
that what if factor. That's why I don't try and write anyone off. Like, I might not necessarily believe everything, but at the same time, it's like I keep an
Hmm.
open mind because I don't know.
If the majority of society is given, it's got to fit in these, and I constantly, I want to say, go at war with people who say they're in believer groups, but they straight up don't believe because the evidence they want, which exists, but because mainstream media has gone and attacked said individual, Dr. Melvin Ketchum, who's done multiple Bigfoot DNA. She just did one last year. Again, and that proved, the human and the unknown side. The female is the human aspect, and the male is the unknown. Um, they don't like that because it doesn't fit in their checkered boxes, and most humans can't accept that, okay, we're not the apex predator, and there's something out there that's anywhere between, I mean, the one I saw was easily 9 feet. The other three that I didn't see, I don't know their height. One I saw in a near death experience is I barrel rolled down the side of a mountain and almost KO'd into a log. Uh, that one came out of a cedar tree and checked on me. And that was all my speak. But I felt safe. I wasn't intimidated, and I watched it go right back into the cedar tree. And that was a very short-lived but intense experience. So, yeah.
I don't think mainstream's ever going to accept the reality of certain situations. And again,
They can't.
it's frustrating, but at the same time, my biggest gripe is there is so much blind faith in religious stuff. They
Mhm.
can accept religions all around the world, like not just here in America or wherever, but like everyone has their own sort of religions, and everyone has a blind faith to those religions. They believe in things that they cannot see or prove. But when it comes to anything supernatural, paranormal, we mentioned UFOs earlier, cryptids, anything out of the ordinary, almost everyone writes it off, but yet they'll still believe in their religious belief. So I struggle with understanding the difference, I guess.
Most people live in a very, they're narrow-minded by nature. They have the inability to be open-minded enough to consider that it's a possibility because they've never had the experience, or their brain literally. And I've listened to so many people who've emailed one of the channels I follow on YouTube about Bigfoot Sabe, that their brain just can't deal with it, or the vibe they get because they're out there hunting and they need that reality check. I've had that fear hit by the Dogman, but every Saturday experience I've had is either been one of concern or curiosity. Was the latest one. That one was, I didn't see it. I woke up to something sniffing me, and I figured out what it was after a 3 minute long inhale, and I heard and felt the very deep feeling of it's okay, go to sleep. And as my hand was reaching over for my tomahawk, uh, but that's also the experience where I had the Bigfoot look out at me after I had the near death experience less than a mile down from that campsite. So, yeah.
Why do you think dogmen and Sasquatch are always around each other?
Yin and yang. I believe, and I've got three different tribes of native in me, which lead credence to the reason why I believe that. I don't think I'm on the fence as to whether people want to call Sasquatch Nephilim or not. Because they don't have the traditional six toes, six fingers. That I haven't got a evil vibe, but they are the lost people. I think we are from them. We're not from apes. We are from them. Somehow modified, manipulated. Um,
They're our original ancestor, basically.
yeah, I believe that they are here, not a protector of form, but they were here before us. And Dogman is here to take them out. But I also believe that the Bigfoot are much like us, varied, varied as far as personalities. You got your bad apples, you got your good ones. Um, they travel in family clans, but we as humans are trying to limit something that can be, and this includes Dogman, anywhere between 7 to 18 feet in height. Oh, it must only have 5 senses. I think they have the ability to use all 365 senses that we were meant to have as well. How many times have you heard people tell their kids, you can't do this? You can't fly, you're a kid. You're being crazy, you can't do that. What if we spent 3, 4, 5 generations encouraging our kids, yeah, you can talk to each other, you don't need to use your mouth? Do you think it'd be possible? Do you think that we could create that evolution by encouraging our own minds to do it generation by generation?
I heard this on another podcast and it made me think about it. And I think there's a lot of truth behind it, but we already have the abilities to sense things that we just don't realize it yet.
Yeah, we don't, because we haven't put the growth into.
You can tell when someone is looking at you. Like if someone's staring at you, you ever look up and you look over and someone's looking at you, they turn away real quick. Like
Mhm.
humans have the ability to sense that. That's why when people get creeped out or on the wood line or whatever, they feel like something's watching them from the woods. They get that sensation like they're being watched.
Yeah.
How do we understand? How do we know that we're being watched? We get that feeling. Like if we get feelings like that, that's some sort of
It's
a
energy.
an energy, a psychic ability, whatever you want to call it. Like we are sensing something. So
Well,
what else? What
it's
else can we do that we're just not tapped into anymore?
I think, one of the things I believe is telekinetics. We can move things with our minds. I believe we had that ability at one point in time. I believe some people still do. The ability telepathy, which is a higher form of empathy, in my opinion. The Sasquatch, their ability to cloak. I don't think they're the only entities that can cloak themselves. I've been surrounded by free entities that were cloaked and walking in a there's one in front of me, one on the left, and one directly behind me in like a protective fashion. It was very interesting. I think we can do that. I know that when I was a kid, I could walk in front of video cameras over at Fred Meyer, over at the electronics store, and I wasn't seen on it. I could never figure out why unless I wanted to be seen. Nobody told me I couldn't do that. That's why I've been wondering if we encouraged our kids.
Are you still able to do it today?
Yeah, I've done it, even as an adult. I haven't tried recently because I don't even think about it, but I probably could.
If you're able to do that, I'd be interested in seeing it because that's something that a lot of people are gonna say, "Well, that guy's full of shit." But if you have the ability to prove it, I'm always wanting to know the
I could
proof.
try. My mind's not as open as it was as a kid. I will admit that, but I'd be willing to try it again. I mean, I'm visually impaired, so
You'd mentioned that a little bit ago. I think we're off there when you were talking about it. Do you want to kind of elaborate to the audience what you're meaning by that?
yeah, I was basically born with anaretic glaucoma, which means I have no iris. My eyes are solid pupil. So I perceive more wavelengths or light wavelengths than the average. When I was a teen, I was heavily recruited by the military because of my night vision, but they couldn't take me. My visual impairment being that my peripheral vision is pretty much shot. I'm down to about less than 10% of my central vision. But my mind's eye is my sixth sense has gone through the roof, and my other abilities haven't gotten more intense. I've just become more aware of them, if that makes sense. It's they say one sense, 1 year, five senses go, the other four get better. I'm convinced they don't get better. You just pay more attention to them.
They're always there. You're just using them more than what you would be. So it seems like they're better in that sense, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had an experience. I don't remember if I mentioned this while we were recording or off air, but yeah, I had an experience, and I think I was marked by a Sabe when I was a kid. I saw a UFO when I was in third grade, and it was out at grade school recess after the lunch. And what struck me, and this is what struck me as odd, I looked up and it was a cloudy day. And there's a bright silver circular cloud in the sky that was going against the motion of all other clouds. And it was lower to the ground. And it was actively portraying a light cutout of it on the ground as it was passing over. And I tried to get the attention of the teachers on the playground, and none of them would look up. And I always thought that was the strangest thing, which is why I was convinced it was a UFO of some sort, but I could never figure out why nobody would look up. Let alone, in retrospect, as an adult who would listen to a third grader kind of pointing to the sky, yelling at you to look up. I don't know. It's always struck me as an odd day.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to
So,
seeing things like that, it is always weird.
I mean, but I don't know. I remember I saw my grandparents lived out in Nevada back when the stealth bomber was being tested before the stealth bomber got released. And I remember hearing stories about that. Oh, it's a UFO. Well, it was technically because we civilians couldn't identify what it was.
I kind of
So,
wonder if a lot of the UFO phenomena that goes on now is still not a lot of it just us. And I'm not going to say that everything is military craft, but
the
I wonder
majority is, I'd say.
I
It's
wonder if
not
they
us.
actually know what it is though. Like these random UAPs that they've released and this and that and the technology. I only think what's being released is stuff that they want the public to know about. And I don't know if it's just more misinformation or just to throw people off what they're actually up to or not. I don't know. I don't trust the government.
Oh, I don't
Um,
either. It's a distraction, I think.
that's what I was getting. I think whatever's coming out now is something that they want to come out because it covers up and throws you
Hmm.
off the trail of whatever they're really up to.
Yeah, they want to do that. They're like, okay, well, everybody's talking about this. Let's give them the UFO, and it's usually in a preemptive maneuver to push some narrative. I mean, I could see a fake invasion that they're going to use. I could go all kind of theories, if you will, on why they're doing that. I will say that a guy I follow, Missing 411, he did an excellent movie about the connection between the missing people and not necessarily Bigfoot, but UFOs. But I think UFOs have always been here.
I've
You
often
see them
wanted to
coming.
try and reach out to that guy, but I haven't done so.
He's good. He's busy, but he's good. Another guy that I like is he does a how to hunt. Um, the facts on how to hunt by oh, I can't remember his name, but he does he reads emails for across the world for Saturday sightings, Dogman sightings. He finally got into that because he realized that those exist too, you know.
No, I'm not sure
But
who that is. I haven't heard of him.
um I can send you when we're done here, I can send you one of his video links on
Yeah, I'd like to check that out.
Yeah, I listen to him every day. He actually read my first Saturday experience I sent in. Well, the first two I realized what they were. So yeah.
You're saying Save. It sounds like what are those?
That's the what the Ojibwe First Nations call the Bigfoot.
Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking, but wasn't
It's more
sure.
to me. It's like it's more. It's what they prefer to be called, from my understanding. And Bigfoot, Sasquatch, that could be to me is almost bordering on derogatory. I'd be like, "Hey, Blondie," or "Hey, you Ginger." You know, maybe yeah, that's cool to you, but if I want to address you with respect, I want to call you as a person, not as a based off the size of your foot.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and there's a lot of historical references. Yes, the haters say, "Oh, it's spoken language." Well, if you look at how history was taught long before paper was invented, it was all oral, and that's how a lot of the First Nations have portrayed their history.
Yes.
And a lot, it's difficult for some places you don't find it.
Going back to calling it a Bigfoot or something. I saw some post recently and someone was measuring it and they're like, oh, the tracks are 13 inches. I measured my foot, like my foot's longer than 13 inches. I was like, so does that mean I'm a quote unquote Bigfoot? Because,
Well, a lot of people think that Bigfoot, and this is what cracks me up, is Big Bigfoot, Sabe, whatever you want to call them, they have children. Okay, their children don't instantly come flying out of the wound with size 18 feet. That is
Hmm.
no, they don't do that. Man, I feel sorry for the mama who pushed something like that coming
No.
out.
I
So,
look at it from like if my foot's that way, if someone's wanting to fake it, it's not out of the realm of possibility because I'm not a giant. Like I'm 6'3", so I wear a size 14 shoe. It's like I have a friend's
right, but when you come across something to say it's 20-inch by 8-inch wide,
yeah,
that's
that's there's
obviously not human.
yeah. When you get that big, that's one thing. But I was talking about when someone said, "Oh, those 12 inches," I was like, "Well, that could just be a normal person's foot, or it could be her foot, and they're just trying to say they found tracks." Like I said, I always try and remain skeptical on a lot of things because I think we can all agree that most people aren't honest for whatever reason, which is a sad trait. But
Well, and Bigfoot doesn't always leave tracks. They don't need to. There's numerous accounts and experiences where they're seen literally floating across the ground. I'm convinced, just like the dog man, I'm convinced they're not here 24/7. They go to other realms. That's why we hear the portals. That could be one of the ideas theories of some of the stench that accompanies them or that you smell in an area where they aren't. I believe I've been kicked out of the portal once. I can't explain why I walked. I took like 3 steps. The next thing I know is 150 yards backwards. Other than the blurriness I was walking into was not the rain on my glasses.
now you mentioned when you fell down and a squatch had came out and checked on you.
Yeah, that was a female, very definite female energy. I I go up into Washington. There's an area out past Snoqualmie where you can go dig up quartz and amethyst. And out in that area, I it was springtime, July, and up there you're at cloud level. Okay, I it's not uncommon that if you're caught in a storm, you're in the clouds as the storm's going. I can't tell you the exact elevation. I don't know it honestly. But I know it's up there. And I barrel rolled, lost my footing because the soil wasn't compact. There's like the layer you're standing on, but the layer underneath it moved. And my bag shifted and I rolled 15 yards, barrel rolled. I now I'm actually looking at surgery this summer because of my hip that I damaged in that roll. I broke my ankle and I almost snapped my other leg in the roll because I was bouncing off um, big old chunks of granite that people dug out that slid down because that area is known as a slump zone. Um, People have gone up there, they dug, trees have fallen, uprooted, whole 9 yards. And the tree that stopped me from rolling farther down the hill, I literally stopped in the only spot in that entire 9 foot length of tree that I could have physically fit in. I land with it like I was sitting with it resting on my back, using it just to brace myself. And everywhere else, there were 9 to 12 inch long dagger like branches that were broken off, just stuck like nubs to the trunk of the tree. Spot I landed in, I had these spikes no more than 3 inches from me. And that I sat there in shock. My body's trying to assess what's going on, and I hear a very feminine voice in my head. Are you okay? Do you need help? And I automatically think my friends are up there, two females. Um, I think it's them, and I'm like, I I don't know. I'm checking out. Give me a minute, and I hear it again. Sorry, this is bringing back emotions. It's like I'm reliving it. Um, and I'm like, I my ankle, my leg, I don't know. They're numb. Something's going on, and I feel a warmth inside, almost like you're gonna be okay. And at that point, I look over at what would be my 8 o'clock, and I see a face that's level with me, looking at me, that is very angular, very, very human, but bigger than what a human's face should be. But very blue eyes, very intense blue, calming eyes. And I blink and I look back, and she's gone. And there's the tree. And my friend looks up, she's yelling at me, asking me if I'm okay, what's going on. And I realized that I wasn't even talking to them at that point. I realized that I was talking to what I'm gonna attribute as a Sasquatch, a Sabe. That's the only thing that, after going back a year later to that exact spot, looking at the height, measuring it, at least 9 feet tall. I don't know anything else that could be that tall at that head level, talking to me in that fashion. Like, maybe I made it all up in my head, but my gut tells me a whole nother story. And the fact that how I still get emotional to this day, and this happened back in 2012 or 2021. It's like it happened yesterday. And I don't need anybody to tell me if I know what happened.
It's hard for anyone to understand things unless they experience it themselves. And for anyone that
I
has never had an experience, it's something they can't just wrap their head around. So it's hard to explain, I guess, to like the average person that has no idea because again, most people write things off like this. If I
well,
did,
oh,
so
go
if I
ahead.
didn't have my own experiences, I would probably be in the same boat. I'd like, oh, there's no way. But like I said, I try and keep an open mind about things just because I don't know.
Well, the effed up part about that whole experience is, even though I'm on the side of the mountain, I'm sitting there recovering. I still had to get myself about a mile off the side of the mountain to a trail, and then another mile and a half from there on essentially a busted ankle and a fractured shin. Um, I was followed. I did not see, but I was followed step for step all the way out by at least two entities. I don't know what, 'cause I didn't see them. I'm going to assume they were whatever checked on me. My friends offered to help, but the trail was too narrow, and I'm too stubborn. And to be honest, I was in a deep state of shock. I didn't go to the hospital or anything after that. I was in the middle of the whole COVID thing, and I just, nope, I'm good. I'll heal myself. But
Yeah.
I, I came back to that same mountain last year, and that's where I had whatever. I woke up to taking an inhale of me, and I fell asleep to it, still doing the inhale. Yeah, I was there. That was the same mountain that I had that experience. So I think they were just checking on me. But I think once you have one experience, whether it's Dogman, any of the cryptids, because of their abilities, I think you get marked. Not good, not bad, but I think you get marked in a way that we're not aware of. We're not that psychically attuned to be able to pick up that, if that makes sense.
Why do you think some people can have these experiences and others can't? Like, what makes people get marked?
Um, Part of it, not this is my own experiences. Okay, so bear with me. They're going to be kind of outlandish. Part of it, I think they can tell your intentions long before you ever see them. Um, I mean, they've been known to have mind speak from miles away. And if they're capable of reaching into your mind and talking to you, mimicking your own voice, which you may not even know you're having a mind speak conversation, you might just think you're having an internal dialogue, which apparently only like 40% of the population have. More people do not have an internal dialogue. I found that kind of odd, but
This seems weird.
doesn't it though? But now, if you have something talking to you using your own voice out in the middle of the woods, you may not even realize it unless you know yourself well enough to be like, wait a minute here, that's not me talking. Or they'll just come out and use a different voice, but usually with them, it's more emotional. As far as the males seem to be more emotional, the female seems to better articulate base emotions, caring, loving. But I would not give them food personally. But they know our character. There's been emails of hunters. They'll go out and they'll look at one dead in the fucking between the eyes in their scope. And that sadly will look straight back at them through the scope, and they'll put down that gun and they'll walk away from their career. Or there have been a couple of different experiences that have been shared where there'll be two hunters, and one's more of an empathetic hunter. He'll only shoot what he needs, and what should be shot, not just a bloodthirsty hunter. And then his buddies, he's going to shoot anything that moves. And then as soon as his buddy's looking through the scope, well, the Sasquatch is now hiding. His buddy looks through, he's peeking out around the tree looking at him. That's on the demeanor of the person, I think. They can judge us far better. And I think their issue with dogs, not Dogman, but dogs, is the fact that the dogs know their true intent. You can't bullshit a dog like you can bullshit a human.
Mm-hmm.
Because dogs can smell things, which is why I'm on the fence as to their true nature. I don't know if they're truly good. Because if you look at a lot of the cryptids, Dogman, Mothman, Skinwalkers, every single one of them is evil. Every single encounter has evil connotations. I know that the Sabe with the glowing red eyes, those are the ones you run the F away from. Just like the blue glowing orbs, you run away from those. You don't play around with those, or the red ones. Now I haven't had any orb experience to my knowledge, but I can't tell you. I know I've been followed by stuff in the past, and I just blatantly ignore it. So I'm like, okay, if you're going to come at me, this I'm going to react. You really want to go there? And I'll play through it in my head. A, because that's how I mentally rehearse and prep myself. But B, it's also broadcasting just on a whim, okay, if you can read this, this is what's going to happen. Let's play. And then usually it fades away. So I don't know, but I know there's a lot more out there than what we're told. And I think that's BS. I think anybody who's had any experience with any cryptid needs to talk about it. The haters are going to be there. You're going to have the alphabet agencies, the Smithsonian swooping in to pick up any of the dead. We've got active black ops that go in and hunt the Sad Bay when they hear about it and they become a problem. I've heard a couple of different stories about a guy who he's seen this chopper and it has a Sasquatch logo on the side of it. It's an all blacked out helicopter, and that's what that squad does. I can't say this is fact, but I've heard it written in more than once. So that leads credence from soldiers. I know I've seen sketchy shit, pardon my language. I've seen demons. So my thought process on this only being your biologically identified animals and the birds that you read about in science books are the only birds that exist. No. Nope, that got shattered really, really young because Bigfoot, that's fairy tales. Skinwalkers, UFOs, those don't exist. Well, okay, if we know Bigfoot, Dogman, cryptids exist, what else are they lying about? That's the big thing. I mean, if people stay stuck on this, that's cool. But naturally, the logical evolution should be what else? And that's where I like the missing 401 guy, Dave. He's started on the Bigfoot and he's evolved into other aspects, which makes more sense. It goes back to the interdimensional. They're not from this dimension. I'm not sure how they sidestep, but I know portals exist as well. So, and that takes a lot of power, a lot of energy to create those things.
I feel like that's what some of these places are trying to do. Some of these accelerator places.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I also was openly in the occult for 20 years. So I know the dark side of things and how dark they can get and what they can create.
Hmm. Well,
and yeah.
we can dive into that maybe on another episode.
Yeah, no worries. I'm not even that. Just the portals that they create, and I believe that CERN. They're a big one.
There's CERN. There's I can't think of the one in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, the mini one. That's what I call it. The mini CERN.
Yeah, it's something Ridge. I think I forget what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's playing with things that we shouldn't be playing with.
I'm just afraid one day they're going to open up something and not be able to close it back.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, there's evidence of other things opening portals and coming in, which is why I think we gave them the keys to be able to do that somehow by trying to do it ourselves. It's not going to end well. It never does when we try to manipulate with things that we have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, that's human nature. None of us know what we're doing.
Right here, we're gonna go mess with this. We don't know what we're gonna do, or we're gonna mess with it.
Always
Here,
it always sounds like a good idea until it's not.
right. Well, the ironic funny thing about my Dogman experience I had here close to me is if you draw a line straight south, there's a place called Oculus Anubis. It's a compound that it's urban legend. I haven't really quite explored it in a lot of years, but the name Oculus Anubis and Oculus being eye, Anubis, obviously you know who Anubis is. I find it ironically, morbidly humorous that I think it's 16 miles or something like that. I measured it out. I'll have to look at it again. But it's from where I had my experience and the fact it was an Anubis like creature and my eye problems, I thought it was kind of ironic because it's a wilderness path straight through there. You can take, there's housing, but if you know what you're doing, you can actually avoid the houses and go straight nature, cross a road here or there, but stay in nature wooded land all the way from that trail up to the Oculus Anubis compound.
Well, is there anything else that you would want to discuss on this episode? It's been a little bit over an hour and kind of about where I try and keep the episodes, unless there's anything specific you want to dive into.
No, I'm good unless you got any more questions. I mean, I pretty much covered what I wanted to.
The only things that I have that question wise is like when you've had these experiences and everything else, has it kind of made you feel any way differently? Like, do you feel like you're more connected to these things?
Oh yeah,
I feel
oh
like
yeah.
I feel like when people have these experiences, and the reason I'm asking this is because someone asked me before, and I said it didn't affect me. Well, I'm hosting a freaking podcast here and talking about this type of stuff, so clearly it affects people in a different way. So I was just kind of curious: has it been something that's like really changed your perspective to where you've looked into these things more often? Like it's become something that you're fascinated with?
Um, Fascinated. No, I like listening to other people's experiences because I can relate to it and I know what it's like to get ridiculed and not be open to that subject. But I never went out searching for them to start with. They found me. Um, but I've always been a magnet for that type of thing. So it doesn't surprise me. They still mess with me. I still hear the mocking laughter on occasion. My when I get close to that area, my phone will glitch out when he's around or that he's in whatever form close. Like I'll know. But I don't. I'm like, whatever. You're gonna do what you do. I'm here. Let's do this. Like I don't. I'm not scared. I don't. I respect everything, but I don't fear anything. I won't give them that power. So no, I don't. I don't research it. I like to know it's out there. It's on my radar. I like telling people about the experience to spread awareness, but not avidly out there researching it, trying to find castings or broken branches or no, because I lived the experience. That's all the proof I need. Will I say that I'll be able to forget those experiences? No. They're forever etched in my brain. It will make me more leery in the areas, more apt to pay attention, more apt to look up more often when I'm out hiking. Yes. It will change certain habits I have. That's for certain, but has it changed me in a behavioral way where I'm more fat? No, I'm more fascinated. No, no, no. I almost wish I could be one of those skeptics that, oh, I need all this proof. No, I wish I didn't see what I've seen, but I have. So I'm happy and I don't regret it. It's just opened my mind.
Is there anything out there to the audience you'd like to say before we close out the episode?
Keep an open mind. Don't ridicule people. If they tell you they had an experience, take it at face value. Don't say no, you didn't, because it doesn't fit in your preconceived narrative. And if they say that they see something or they feel something and you don't, and you're out hiking, listen to your more empathetic people. They might be onto something that you may not. There's a lot of references and experiences with that too. Just be careful. If you want to stay protected while you're out camping, take trail cameras. That's a great deterrent.
No.
So,
Well, Jeremy, I think we can wrap this one up. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure
yeah.
we will talk again soon. I'm sure you've got
always.
plenty of other things we can talk about, especially when you mentioned the occult.
Oh yeah.
That's something that piques my interest as well. So I'm sure we'll get something set up again. But I want to say thanks for coming out here and talking with us tonight. I hope the audience enjoyed it. Thanks to Jeremy, and thanks for listening. Remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, and until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.